Hi everyone, this is Brad Wood, and today I want to show you a cool little utility called SQL, or SQL, which is built into command box CLI. This sort of goes hand in hand with some of the other tools like the table printer that I had shown you. And essentially it is the ability of you to run queries, filtering, sorting queries against any sort of JSON-based data from the command line. So you can pipe into it JSON that represents an array of arrays, an array of structs, or a query object, basically anything that would also work with a table printer. And then you can specify a select statement or a where clause or an order by clause or a limit that you want to apply. And behind the scenes, all this does is just use ColdFusion's queries. So it converts the JSON to a query, runs the queries against it, and you get JSON back at the end. So it can be a nice little intermediate layer. If you're doing logic inside of a task runner or a custom command, then just use like queries or, query reduce or query filter or, any of those things is fine. But if you're just purely working from the command line, you have some JSON input or a JSON text file, you want to do some massaging on it, spit it back out or dump it out, it can be a quick little handy tool. So quickly show you the help file on it. Our data comes in as a JSON representation of whatever it is we want to manipulate. We can specify select, a where, an order by, and a limit. So basically, just building up a SQL statement for you. And there's a bunch of examples in here of what that might look like. So to go back to an example I used in the previous video, there's a nice little function built into Lucy that I like to play around with called extension list. And this is just a built-in function in Lucy that dumps out a whole bunch of JSON that represents a query object, showing you all of the installed Lucy extensions. So if we, let me copy and paste this example. If I pipe the output of extension list, which is just this JSON serialized representation of our query, into the SQL function, then I can say I would like to select the ID and name columns out of the data, and I would like to have a where clause that says where name like SQL, so it has the text SQL server in the name, and then order by the name column. And that dumps out a modified version of the original JSON that only has the columns I asked for, it has the sort applied, and it has the where clause applied. So it's an incredibly simple idea. You can see that ran in just a few milliseconds. And of course, we can dump the output of this into print table if we want to get that sexy little UI output that makes it look cool. But this just allows us to do some fun stuff on the fly from the command line, treating our data as a query object. So here's another example. I have installed a system module in the command box, which allows me to make HTTP calls. Here, since I referenced it, I'll show you what it is. Yeah, so right here, the command box HTTP command. I didn't write this, but it's been out in ForgeBox for a while, and it's pretty cool. So I found a random website that allows you to just get random dummy JSON back. So I'm going to run our HTTP command and hit this, and we get back a big old fat dump of JSON. Yay, JSON. So this is an array of structs. That means we can treat it as, well, it's almost an array of structs. Here's a nice little trick. If you just dump the JSON through the SQL command, it won't modify it at all, but it will format it on the other side. So we can see it's actually got the JSON stored inside of this little products key. So that's fine. So we're going to pipe this through JQ first and ask for it to grab that products key out. So now we have what we actually want, which is an array of structs representing these sort of dummy products, right? So we can treat this as a SQL statement. So I'll just copy and paste this so I don't type it all wrong. All right, so we can pipe this through the SQL command, pipe our JSON through, and I'm going to add a select statement that says select out only the ID, the title, and the price. So now our JSON's gotten a little bit simpler. We can go a little bit further, and let's add on a where clause that says where category equals laptops. So now we're filtering the data down. We've only got about 4 rows. And then you can stop there if you just want the JSON version of it. Or if we want to keep going, we can pipe it into the print table helper and get a nice little visual representation. So out of all the dummy data this site had, here's all of the laptops sorted. Actually, no, I didn't even have a sort by an order by in here. I'm just filtering on laptops. Here, we can add one. We can say order by, oops, my caps lock going on here. Order by, and I'll say, oh, well, it's already descending, so I'll do ascending. Order by price ascending. There we go. So I can flip the sort around. So pretty easy just to grab this JSON for an HTTP call, pipe it through, and we can play with it right here in the command line. And then one final example, just for the fun of it, I Googled online and found a huge JSON file. This is like 25 megs worth of JSON. If we take a quick look at the top handful of lines, you can see it's just a whole bunch of junk. But the JSON is all in the format of a struct of arrays. So again, we can easily treat this as a query object. I don't know what this JSON's from. It's tracking some sort of event. So it's a big old giant chunk of JSON. It's like 25 megs worth. So let me copy and paste a quick little example here. So I'm just going to cat out this JSON file, 25 megs worth, pipe it into SQL, and say filter out the rows where the type equals push event and limit to 1,000, and then dump those results into a new file. And basically runs a little over 2 seconds. And most of that time is actually spent, it took 3 seconds. Usually if I run it again, it'll be a little faster. Most of that time is actually spent deserializing the JSON. The queries part behind the scenes is really one of the faster parts of it. So that gives us a new JSON file. It's got like a meg worth of result in JSON. And I don't know, that's just a cool example. I wanted to kind of push the limits with, a big old fat chunk of JSON and show that you can do some interesting stuff even with some larger chunks of data. So if you're in the command line natively and you get some JSON and you want to be able to toy with, you want to filter it, you want to maybe sort it, and you don't want to have to, jump into some cold fusion code, this SQL command here you can pipe through, and that allows you to do some pretty cool transformations on the data. Okay, that's it. Go play around with it and have fun SQLing.